So we just got the first proper trailer for Star Trek 31, which is going to be the 14th Star Trek film total, and the first Star Trek film to release since Star Trek Beyond released in summer of 2016. It's also going to be the first Star Trek film that won't be getting a wide theatrical release, since it's going to be launching on Paramount Plus as like a Paramount Plus exclusive film. I don't know if it'll get a cinema release in certain parts of the United States or something like that, but for the most part it seems like it's going to pretty much only be available on Paramount Plus, since Paramount Plus is in a lot of countries. It's also going to be the first Star Trek film to not follow like an Enterprise or an Enterprise crew or something like that, unless the trailers are hiding something that we don't see or we haven't seen yet. Unless there's some crazy plot twist, it definitely seems like it's going to be the first Star Trek film to like not follow, I guess, even a Starfleet main crew or something like that. Now, we got the first teaser for the film a couple of months ago. We also got a couple posters since then, like a dozen posters, I'd say. The teaser, I wasn't crazy about it. I thought that it was not the best way to show off your new Star Trek film, especially your first Star Trek film in so long. I thought the teaser was kind of mediocre, kind of gave off the wrong vibes. The posters we've seen, they're really going to town on this like big yellow sort of color. I don't know. It seems like they're going very. I think that what the trailer is does not match what the posters are. The posters make this seem like it's a wacky, fun sort of adventure style comedy almost thing. I don't think that the trailer has some jokes in it, but the trailer is lighting wise, it's very dark. It doesn't feel like it matches the tone or what the posters seem to be giving off. But that's not talking about the trailer. Anyway, super quick background on the film for anyone who might not be familiar with it, is that the film had been in some sort of development or pre-production for years, since early Star Trek Discovery. Like season 2 of Star Trek Discovery was super focused on Section 31, and that was to set up a potential spin-off show all about Section 31. Then Star Trek Strange New Worlds got prioritized as a spin-off show instead. They didn't want to make Section 31 as a TV show anymore. It got changed to be a film. And then over the last 2 years, they really sort of pushed to get the film made and get it developed. My personal theory is that Michelle Yeoh is at some of the most famous she's ever been, you know, with things like Everything Everywhere All at Once. She's showing up in everything. She was just in Wicked really recently. Like, she is all over the place in terms of acting now, and she's huge, and everyone's talking about her, and everyone loves her. And I think that was part of the reason she was probably locked down for a Star Trek project, and they were trying to capitalize on her fame and how big she is at the moment. We're like, look, we get this film made, we get it out now. A lot of people who are just Michelle Yeoh fans and might not necessarily be Star Trek fans, I hit my mic, but might not necessarily be Star Trek fans, might check out this movie just because she's in it and just because she's starring in it. Because, you know, a film is a less of a commitment than 5 seasons of Star Trek Discovery, where she's in like less than half of it. So my theory is that Michelle, being huge like she is right now, and super famous, super popular, they were like, okay, let's make the film now while we have that sort of momentum going into it, which is very valid and very fair. Like, they're trying to get as much eyes as they can on possibly on this film. It comes out on January 24th, 2025, so just a little bit over a month. To be honest, for a show for a film, sorry, that comes out in just over a month, I do feel like the marketing could be stronger. I feel like we should be feeling more hype and more momentum at this point. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, I kind of just want to go over the trailer a little bit and talk about my thoughts and feelings on it, some things I noticed. First off, I think the film is very clearly more Discovery in its look and visual style than Strange New Worlds. There's a lot of stuff about it, like just the visuals of the planets, the look of the ships, the way the action is shot and framed, the lighting inside a lot of these places, the shooting, a lot of this, even just the way that the aliens kind of are. It really reminds me more of Discovery's look for the Star Trek universe than what Strange New Worlds did or what like Picard season 3 did. And I mean, that's to be expected. This is almost a direct spin-off of Star Trek Discovery, like Philipa was a main character on that show for years. It makes sense to keep the visual style intact, carrying from one project to the next. But I don't know, personally, I've never loved how Star Trek Discovery has looked. I'm not into it here either. I think it feels more generic modern day sci-fi than really giving off that Star Trek look. But also, I feel like there should be more of an attempt to justify why this is not a TV show, because this doesn't look cheap at all. This looks like a very expensive film, but it looks visually just like Discovery did, and Discovery is a television show. I think there should be an attempt to make this stand out and look different than a television show, than to know, like, think of like Star Trek Generations to Star Trek Next Generation. Star Trek Generations, lighting wise, is a much darker film, but there is a different visual style. There is a jump visually from how they filmed Next Generation to how they filmed Star Trek Generations, similar to how they filmed Star Trek the Motion Picture in comparison to the original series. I think there should be more of an attempt here to film this differently than Discovery and show why it's a movie. That all said, though, I do think that just based on trailers, this trailer is much more stronger than the teaser. Now, we still don't know the exact year that this film takes place in, just that it's very likely the early 24th century, definitely in the Lost Era, which is this period in Star Trek history that takes place between 2293, when the beginning of Star Trek Generations happens on the Enterprise B, and then 2264, which is the first season of Next Generation. It's called the Lost Era because we don't know much at all about this era. We know that the Enterprise B and C were both active during it, and that's kind of the extent of a lot of the like, there's a lot of little character details, but that's the extent of a lot of what we know. The beginning of the trailer shows off this crazy looking space station. Visually, this space station kind of reminds me of how Starbase 1 looked in Discovery and Stranger Worlds, and also kind of like how Starbase Yorktown looked in Star Trek Beyond. Not like that they look similar, but just that this space station has a very flashy uniqueness to it that makes it stand out. That reminds me of how they made those space stations look. Now, during the trailer, we see a lot of shots of Terran Empire soldiers or something like that. And we see Philipa Geoirgou back in her Mirror Universe getup. We see a character who's very likely and a young Philipa. My read of all of this is that it's very likely flashbacks to when she was in the Mirror Universe. I don't think this is a crossover of like the Terran Empire soldiers coming to our universe or anything like that, or if Philipa going back again or something like that. I think that this film is probably going to really dig into the psyche and the past of Philipa and give us more of an insight into her as a character. And I think that's a good way to do that, is to show flashbacks, show what made her who she is, show what started her on this path, helping us see the journey she's on and stuff like that, and how she gets to where she is now. So I think that's a good decision. We get a couple of scenes featuring Rachel Garrett, who, if you don't know, Rachel Garrett is the captain of the Enterprise C in 2344, which, when, spoiler alert, they accidentally get teleported to a different timeline in Next Generation's episode Yesterday's Enterprise. Then Rachel dies on the way back to the main universe, but just based off of her here, I'd say it's very likely this film probably takes place in like the early 2320s, which would put this about 20-ish years before her appearance in Next Generation, which I think that would work. I'll be honest, Rachel Garrett is the reason I'm the most excited for this film. I'm really intrigued to see what they do with her here, especially since it's a character that, like, she's had one appearance in 60 years of Star Trek. Like, there's a lot of interesting things they could do with her and kind of build on her as a character. Wouldn't be opposed to seeing a show set on the Enterprise C, the early years of the Enterprise C or something like that, or when she takes over as captain of the Enterprise C. I think that would be awesome to see maybe in a few years down the line. Some quick Easter eggs, and we see a Sharonian in the trailer. The original series episode, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, in season 3 was all about them and their history. And in that episode, they do kind of imply that the two characters we end the episode with, Beale and Lokai, they kind of imply that they're the last of their species, but I'm not going to spend too much time discussing why are we seeing a character if they were the last of their species or whatever. Lots of things could have happened. We see Georgiou fighting someone using her Mirror Universe Empress sword, so that's pretty cool. We also see one of the characters here. This character has their own poster, so this is likely a main character in the film, but they might be a Deltan, Deltan most known as Ilea's species from the motion picture. But we end the trailer with the current Star Trek logo then transitioning into the Section 31 logo using the same Section 31 badge that we see in Star Trek Discovery Seasons 2 and 3. Now that's an interesting decision to end a trailer like that, in my opinion, because it's, I don't know, just the way they transition the logos is a bit unusual. I don't know if it goes from like a traditional look to a more wacky look. I don't know how to describe it. But look, I'm not going to jump too much into the negatives, but I do think that this isn't the best movie to bring back Star Trek films, in my opinion. Now, trailers can be deceptive, so I'll hold out on judgment until we see it. But I don't know, there might be more going on in the film than the trailers imply, because the trailers seem to imply that it's a very big galactic threat, needs to be stopped, not much more than that. So we'll see. But I'm not super into the idea of Star Trek Mission Impossible or Star Trek Suicide Squad, which is kind of the immediate vibe I get from this trailer, to me at least. Anyway, that's my breakdown of the Star Trek Section 31 trailer. how is everyone else feeling about the film? Are people excited for it, or kind of the same as me, where it's like, it's whatever? Let me know. There are Star Trek videos every week on the channel, so if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. There's also Marvel, DC videos. If you're not new to the channel, a like and a share always really helps. So thanks so much for watching, and have an awesome day.